So Ark once told me that Clannad was to him what Busarenkin was to me. Well, I'd say that's fairly accurate because both shows have some rather large flaws. But before I get into the show proper, let me explain a little bit about what is commonly called a moe show. The entire concept of a moe character is that the attraction is not based on sexuality, but more of being weak and helpless, and garnering the same sort of affection as a small kitten would. And if you think that's me being unfair to the genre, let me just say that that's not how I put it in the first place, but Ken Akamatsu. You know, the guy who did Negama? This is why I have a big problem with moe shows in general, and why the character designs make me want to beat the cute out of them, and why I get all crawly whenever I see characters who stopped aging at 12 get more love than a woman who looks like she actually went through puberty. To give you a different example, in Gun X Sword, Wendy, not good. Priscilla, good. Carmen, much better. Not the other way around. Now, I could go on about how the Japanese are utterly terrified of strong women and how the obsession with cute and youth is ruining their once proud nation, but that's another story. This is about Clannad, damn it. Tomoya is a gloomy high school student with fairly good reason, I will admit. He's not a big fan of his town and doesn't really give a flying crap about anything that he does. His mom died when he was young and his dad crawled inside a bottle and never came out. And just saying that makes me want to open up my wrists. His dad got really wasted and they got into a big fight, and as a result of this, their relationship is hopelessly fucked. And he can't raise his arm much higher than his shoulder. You know, I thought the Japanese healthcare system was a bit better than that.
Oh, well, look at this, will you? It seems that I've caused you such trouble again, Tomoya.
He wouldn't be so grumpy if he could still play basketball, since that was kind of his point in life up until now. He just meanders along through his life until he meets Nagisa Furukawa, the little sickly girl to end all little sickly girls. On top of that, she's so spineless it's a wonder she doesn't flop right over. Still, even for that flaw, she's pretty sweet and kind of desperately clingy. I can't really get too annoyed with her because she's got, well, fuck if anyone actually knows how sick she is. I'm going to guess she's got butt cancer. So those two hit it off pretty well, and Nagisa reveals that she wants to be in the drama club. Except the drama club is disbanded, so she's sort of out of luck. But never to be defeated, Tomoya tells her to just put up posters instead. Well, it turns out you're technically not allowed to do that, and so begins their quest to start up a new drama club. They grab up Tsunohara, who is Tomoya's homeboy, to assist them in their endeavors, but the little pervert is usually more trouble than he's worth. However, before they can do that properly, they first have to get sidetracked by about 8 dozen different characters. The first character we come across is Tomoyo, and if you think for a minute that keeping Tomoyo and Tomoya straight is easy, well, you're probably Japanese. She, like Tomoya, is a delinquent, but she's trying to get better. She's some sort of crazy fighter girl, but isn't all punches and kicks. She's sweet on the cherry trees around the school, and she later reveals that she wants to run for student council so she can keep them from getting paved over. She also wants to ride Tomoyo's disco stick, and has to deal with Tsunohara's shit day in and day out. She takes it well in stride, though.
Ah! Oh no! I've forgotten the fake breasts needed for my next class! Tomoya, would you please lend me your breasts, will ya?
Why?
I did it! I caught you! See that? Did you see that?
What are you trying to say exactly?
Her asking why means she can lend her breasts to me, right? Then that means her breasts aren't real. They're removable.
Of course they aren't removable.
See there?
In the first place.
In the first place?
I love understatement. Anyway, Tsunohara is another slacker and an obnoxious perv who, like Tomoyo, got screwed over by life. He used to be good at soccer, Tomoyo was a basketball player. Neither of them get to do that thing anymore for various reasons. So now the drama club and the people around it are starting to give him more purpose in life. As much as they hate to admit it. Still, he can provide a little bit of comic relief in what can be a rather oppressive show.
And you're dead.
Right. I'm not me, I'm a hologram.
Are you serious?
When you got kicked by Tomoya, you were knocked out and have been asleep for 100 years. This is the world 100 years later, my old friend.
Just a minute. Then what's become of the world since I've been asleep?
Total chaos.
Are you serious? Oh, dear Dad. My dear Mom. I'm sorry I was such a fool.
This is where the show shines. It creates a mood and constructs realistic and interesting characters, even if they are somewhat cliched. But let's be real, any character you create at this point is going to be a little bit hackneyed by this point in the history of literature. It's not the writer's fault, it's just how it is. Where the strength of this show lies is in the beauty and simplicity of the characters and their interactions, and how Tomoya inexplicably becomes drawn to this girl who frankly makes Fluttershy look assertive. That's where the show is the best, and unfortunately that's where it goes right off the rails. How do you fuck up something that started off so well? Well, let's add more characters for one thing. The Fujibashi sisters, Kyo and Ryo, are Kagami and Tsukasa from Lucky Star. I wish I could say more, but there's really nothing else to be said. Kyo has the hots for Tomoya, but wants to push Ryo on him for whatever reason. Really, aside from people digging on the whole twin angle, I held fast to the belief that the sisters were the most pointless characters in the show. And then I met Fuko. My opinions changed. Now, before you all turn off the video and write me nasty emails about how Fuko is your waifu or some stupid shit like that, let me explain myself. Also, incoming spoilers, but you should have expected that by this point. Here's the problem with Fuko. She doesn't actually exist, therefore she should not be shown interacting with people. But then they just show her interacting with people anyway. If you have to lie to your audience in order to get your story to work, then you need to rethink your story. Most people will tell you, unless you're using an unreliable narrator, you shouldn't out and out lie to the people you're trying to tell a story to. But since the basis of this story is that Fuko doesn't actually exist and is just a memory, well, that's where things get a little fuzzy. So if she's just a memory, how can she make starfish to begin with? How did they manage to see her to begin with? And how did Tomoya and Nagisa actually interact with her at all? Anyway, she's worried that people will forget about her and that she'll go back to being in a coma. Well, that's a fair concern, but one that's made entirely pointless by the fact that she shouldn't be able to communicate with anyone to start with. Anyway, this is a cause of great concern to people who know the little fake girl. I'm sure I'd probably tug at my little heartstrings too if I could muster up the ability to forget about everything that I'd previously seen that shouted at me that she's actually corporeal. But since her sister is getting married, she wants to make sure she sees it. You know what would make this story a tad more palatable? Make it Coco, the sister, who's all 10 kinds of fucked up, and so Fuko has to do something big to show her that she's not still laid up in bed. That's all you really had to do, Clannad. This is such a vast departure from something that really seemed like it was entirely rooted in reality. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but this break from the established argument just jarred me. Now, obviously, Fuko is the most childlike character, and by extension, I would say the most moe, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that I'm tearing into her and her plotline. And in fact, most of you are probably thinking that I'm being unfair and just whining because I like grown-up ladies. To that I have to say this.
Whining? I am not whining. I am complaining. Do you want to hear whining? This is whining.
And now most of you are probably saying, oh, Prof, you winsome son of a bitch, stop that.
But I